And testing, 1, 2, 3. Welcome everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Give me a 1 in the chat to make sure that I've got my audio correct. You know how many times I've made a mistake on the technical side, but welcome and thank you all for being here. Let me have a quick, actually I don't have my browser open, so it's fine. Yeah, so I see we have Carol B. Thank you. Good to see you. We of course have Timur. Great to see you. We also have Horse. We've got Dragon. Thank you very much. You're always such great support. Much appreciated. Mel Donnelly. Thank you very much. Daniel Alvarez. Thank you very, very much. I'm really grateful for the donation. And you said this series has been jam-packed with info. Appreciate the exhaustive research that went into all your presentations. So thank you very much. I hope you guys will take screenshots and we'll learn from this. So, yeah. So let me know if I'm live, please, because I do believe that I am live right now. Just drop me a 1 in the chat. Actually, let me open my browser to make sure that I have everything running as it should be. And yes, I believe I am streaming. Thank you very much, Carol. And yeah, Sergeant Grinch, you said you have to visit your doctor, so I wish you all the best. I hope there are no issues, and if there's anything, I hope you get well soon. So, Uno, thank you, Timur. Let's see, did I miss any comments? It's a good series. I shared on some Discord servers. Well, thank you. Just one question then. I can do this series in about 8 episodes if I just go flat out. Your Highness, welcome. Good to see you. Baie goed om jou te sien. Dankie dat jy hier is. Maria Rossi, watch you from Italy. Ciao. Hello and welcome. Thank you. Good to know I have friends and followers all over. Damian Kuzmich, God bless you all. Thank you. Yeah, I could do this series in 8 episodes, but I've obviously been spreading it out over a longer period just to spend more time having a conversation and taking questions, detailing things. So do you mind the longer rambling approach, multiple episodes, a few longer hours, or do you prefer me to just run through it in 8 episodes and done? Timur says, Zahar, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you. Well, I could spit out, honestly, a lot of information coming at us. Yeah, I do get accused regularly of information bombing people. So, yeah, it's been a constant comment. More time means more information. Go along. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, yeah. So obviously, I try to tackle this from a perspective that is not typical within apologetics or within polemics. So today we're talking about moonotheism as opposed to monotheism. We're speaking about the ancient pagan history of Islam. And this is my introduction to the roots of ancient religion in Arabia and how this led to the rise of Islam. And of course, eventually they adopted Gnosticism as well. They've blended these. They've made their own flavor of it. And today we have Islam. However, Islam is very recognizably historically related to the ancient Sabaeans, the Sabaeanism, which is the ancient moon worship of the Yemenis. The Yemenis copied their religion from that of the Babylonians. So it's really the old Babylonian moon worship with the moon god Sin or Shin. No, thank you, Timur. I appreciate it. He says, well, I like the way you do it. Very professional and informative. Thank you. As long as I don't just ramble and waffle on. As you know, I do have a very, very long series of, a very detailed set of resources. Actually, let me go there just so that let me grab this. Let me go here. Okay, let me change my screen. Let me go to my main screen. Let me go here. I will just drop this in the chat. I'll drop this. Okay, these are my resources, right? So you'll see here, I've got atheism, Christianity, dictionaries and references, Gnosticism, Islam, Judaism, some links, Nazism, and slavery. So atheism will contain books on socialism. Hillslide, welcome. And I'm a warrior, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you. So atheism will contain books on socialism, and there are occasional books that I've put in 2 places because they belong in 2 places, and it's just for me to, as a reminder. Villainous, welcome. Hey, great to see you. Where the Muslim sat, scared. Yeah. Haven't you noticed that not a single Muslim has made a refutation video on the Sharia? Remember, it is illegal. It is absolutely, positively illegal for them to discuss Islamic law. right? They're not allowed to reveal it. They're not allowed to discuss it. Not a single refutation video has been made. And I have asked, in 3 years, I've invited almost every single person who has commented on my videos, be it on Jay's channel, Al-Fadi's channel, Reasoned Answers, mine. I've said, fine, you have a case to make. You have lots to say. Let's do a public stream. We'll go through the Sharia and you can discuss this. I haven't had a single Muslim accept, not one, in more than 3 years. So what does that say? Okay, so these are my resources, my research archive. So please check the description boxes. It's in most of my description boxes. You'll find this, and there are also references on my community page. So for instance, if we go to, let's go to Islam, since that's the topic today. I have books on 1800 scholars, Ahmadiyya books. This is a 1925 guide of the Temple Mount. I've got numerous folders here, and then I've got thousands. So I've got over 1,500 books right now. It's like 20 gigabytes worth of books on various topics. And so you can go through these. You will learn a great deal. These are my resources that I search. Okay. At the moment, I'm doing still a series with Al-Fadi. I'm supposed to do, in a month, I'll be doing more recordings with him. I'm talking about the Mudhubs, also known as the schools of fiqh. Fiqh and Mudhub are two different things. Fiqh is jurisprudence, law. Mudhub technically means a school of persuasion, shall we say, a school of propaganda, a way of changing people's minds, a school of indoctrination. That's what Mudhub means. It's a school of persuasion. The four founders were the most persuasive. They had the best tongues. They were able to turn people's minds. They were able to win arguments the best. So they had the best rhetoric. They were the best persuaders. Think about that. Influence. They had influence. So this is where this comes from. And I want to mention this slide. They alternatively, the 5 schools, right? The fifth is the Jafari school of Shia Islam. Al-Azhar University recognizes the Jafari school. The 4 schools, of course, we know of Islam, the Hanafi, Hanbali, Maliki, and Shafi schools of Sunni jurisprudence. They are all equally valid interpretations of the religious law of Islam. Understand, they're not separate religions. They're one religion. They share common legal theory. Okay, I see OBS just disconnected and reconnected there for some reason. I had a momentary dropout. Okay, guys, so hopefully that was something helpful. Right. So have a look at this show. And of course, the Muslims are going crazy in the comments. They really don't seem to like what I'm doing. So now let us jump into my presentation. Okay, I'll pick up more or less where we left off last time. And Nitin Jacob Rajan, who talks about atheism and illumination. Okay, hold on. I'm going to just grab that, if you don't mind. Atheism and illumination. I am going to just make a note of that. He promoted anti-Semitic canards and revived theories about the Illuminati. You know what? I will look at that. I mean, I'm just very, very skeptical of everything that I read because it's easy to make a mistake, and I need to make sure that I make, if I do make mistakes, they're very small ones, right? They're innocent mistakes that I'm not deliberately, misrepresenting information, that I have a good case to present based on solid evidence and reliable sources, right? Not the Jeff Stelter kind of reliable sources, though. Okay, so let me see. Safraz lives in the Islamic metaverse. He does, Mal. He does. Poor Safraz. Okay. Right. Okay, let's jump in. Berlin. Okay. Right. We stopped here, Quran 531. I went 1 or 2 slides beyond, but I'll just pick up where I left off. One of the many reasons we respect your scholarship. Thank you. Thank you, Horst. Much appreciated. Right. Quran 531. Notice these 2 different English translations. They end up meaning different things. Whatever the Arabic says, notice how they try to alter the translation to shy away from the obviously embarrassing meaning, where Allah is swearing by the creation. We would swear by the Creator because He's greater than the creation, but Allah Himself swears by the creation, which is really interesting, right? Why would Allah swear on something less than Himself? Muslims don't like what I do, and Muslims don't like Islam. Of course not. They're Islamophobes. They don't like their own scholars. They don't like their own scholarship. Don't like their own books. By oath of the beloved shining star, Muhammad the shining star. Very interesting. In a different translation, by the star when it sets, your companion is not deceived. So they're trying to convince us that Muhammad is not being deceived. By oath of the beloved shining star. Well, why would Allah swear by a star and why would he swear by Muhammad? By the star when it sets, in a different translation. Why would Allah swear on the stars? Well, the stars were gods and people used to swear on the gods. Yeah, so it is ridiculous that Allah swear on his creations. Correct, Zahar. Now, in Tafsir Ibn Abbas, Allah set on him a lion near Haran. So Haran is very important. Remember, this is just inside Turkey, just over the border, a few miles over the border from Syria into Turkey. And this is the area more or less where Abraham comes from. That snatched him from among his friends and took him to a place nearby, tore him apart from head to foot, but did not eat him because of his impurity. Just as the Prophet had prayed against him, it is also said here, Allah swore by the stars when they set. So now we know it's actually, this is the correct translation, by the star when it sets, rather than by the oath of the beloved shining star, Muhammad. He's not relevant to that passage, apparently, not according to Ibn Abbas. So Allah swore by the stars. This is very strange. Culturally, historically, this is just doesn't make sense. And Tafsir Ibn Kathir. So I swear by the setting of the stars, and verily that is indeed a great oath. Now, why would Allah tell us that he's swearing by the stars and that is a great oath? There's nothing greater than Allah, so this makes no sense. Villainous says, why does Allah need to swear in this manner at all? Why need to convince in this manner? Exactly. When I was reading this, the phrase that comes to mind is, methinks thou dost protest too much. This is also Amorite style of worship. Interesting. Amorite style of worship. You have seen the latest revelations from these Amorite tablets. They finally have the means to translate Amorite. And it seems that Hebrew is derived from Amorite. It looks like what the modern nation of Israel descended out of or separated from the Amorite group. And their language is basically Amoritic. So Hebrew and Amoritic are nearly identical. Right. So let's continue. Remember, from the Encyclopaedia of the Quran, we're looking at light, page 187, and of course, Qamar or Kumar, the moon. They speak of the Qamariya, the moon letters. Now, Katie, native sister, welcome, and thank you very much for being here. Good to see you. Now, it looks like Allah was a cultural Arab. Yes, Villainous, it does. So, yeah, great to have my audience, all of you here. Thank you very much. All right, now, oh, by the way, for my members, I've been posting all of my shorts, for the members before I've released them in public. And I did make a public post, at least a member post recently. So hopefully on Saturday, if you guys are available, again, I'd like to do an open Zoom stream and have a chat with you guys. And we can do something privately then. And at some point next month, I will do a public Zoom stream and invite people and allow people to join. And we can have a Ask Me Anything or just an open stream and chat. All right. So few people are aware, and I've showed this many times, the Quran has moon letters, sun letters, earth, air, fire, and water letters. So there is something magical about the Quran. So magic in Islam is rife. If you look through the scholarship, it's not openly discussed, but magic is very much a strong part of Islam, right? Something I need to go into in the future. Now notice, the first principle of tajweed, it's like how they read the Quran, that whole stylistic way of reading it. But they speak here of shamsi, solar, or sun letters, kamari, moon letters. So the idea of the sun and the moon, this whole pagan idea, is very strong within Islam. And they speak of other things here. I'm going to skip this because I did this before, but notice, remember, light refers to the sun and the moon, and they make a distinction between moonlight and sunlight. Moonlight is called nur. Now, they constantly in Islam refer to nur and Muhammad and the nur, which is moonlight, because sunlight is diya. He's the one who made the sun a light and the moon a light. Notice, Ja'alal Shams, okay, Ja'alal Shams, and diya, you see here, and wal Qamar Nuran, the moonlight. So understand, this all is moonlight, very Kabbalah-like. That is very true, and that is correct. Okay, moving on. So, the pagan moon religion. In other cultures, the moon was female. The sun was male. A lot of Western scholarship made the sun male and the moon female because they just used their own cultural frame of reference. But in Babylon, and also in Arabia, this was the case, that the moon was male and dominant. The sun was female and submissive. So the sun was the consort, the partner, the wife of the moon. Maybe it's due to the Gnostic and Kabbalah influence. I would say yes, the Kabbalistic influence. But don't forget, if we go to, actually, maybe we should look at this. Let's go to Etym Online plus Kabbalah. So I'm going to look up here, Kabbalah, etymology, origin and meaning of Kabbalah, by the online etymology dictionary. So let's go have a look. So here's something interesting you might find this interesting. Notice Kabbalah is Jewish mystic philosophy from the 1520s, because originally, the do's are, 10 push-ups, you're right. This mentions Jewish mystic philosophy from the 1520s. This is not Merkava mysticism. This is a sort of a new development. The Kabbalah, according to this, is only about 500 years old, right? The Kabbalah is 500 years old. When you speak of Jewish mysticism, you've got to be speaking of the Merkava, right? Then you have to go to books like the Zohar, right? Now notice, from the medieval Latin Kabbalah, medieval Latin, from Mishnaic Hebrew Kabbalah, reception, received law, tradition, especially tradition of mystical interpretation of the Old Testament, from Kabbil, to receive, admit, accept. Compare with Arabic Kabbalah. Did you know there's an Arabic Kabbalah? I didn't know that for a long time until I read this like last year. He received, accepted, hence any secret science or esoteric science. And we're warned about this in the New Testament, these secret sciences, these esoteric sciences. So Islam has a Kabbalah, and there's a longer story to do with Luria and so on. Okay, but understand, you're looking at Arabic. So Arabic Kabbalah, what is this? So again, when you're talking about Hebrew mysticism, you're speaking of the Merkava. That goes back centuries, thousands of years. So, okay, now let me close this and continue. So, the star, right, is the son or the child of the moon and the sun. Muslims fast from the moon to the moon. Right, Dagobert, welcome. Good to see you. Great to have you here. Islam has a lunar calendar, right? And Islam's mosques all have pagan crescent moons in them. This one is shaped off the horns of the bull, right? This is shaped after the horns of the bull, if you look at that idea. Here you've got the ancient Sumerian symbol. These are the ancient Babylonian symbol here, okay? That could be the moon or the sun and the crescent. You've got the crescent, crescent and star, crescent and star, crescent and star, crescent. This is above Mecca, crescent. And here, look at the moon crescent. Here they've taken in this picture. Here's the moon crescent, right? And this is the Islamic crescent. This is, I believe, a mosque in Pakistan. So understand, this is moon worship. Right, so there's a lot of overlap with the moon. We're going to look at more of that. The moon aligns directly above the Kaaba in Makkah's Grand Mosque. Okay, so there's loads of news articles like this where they get very excited, right, about this. And I've shown before in Göbekli Tepe, where they've got those pillars like that, and the moon, and they capture the star. Sirius between it? Well, in this case, they've got the moon between the two standing pillars. The Dome of the Rocks is 666 nautical miles from the Kaaba. Well, were they using nautical miles when they built it, though? It's a bit of a... I mean, sure, it's an interesting coincidence, if true, but it's a bit of a stretch. Why would they have been using nautical miles? How long do nautical miles go back in the desert? Okay. Let's have a look. Of course, this moon symbol, have a look at this. The moon symbol is also associated strongly, as we've shown before, with the horns of the bull. And Baal, of course, had these horns. That's very symbolic there, right? So notice here above the Kaaba, they have this photo of the moon above the Kaaba. They get very excited about the moon over the Kaaba, the moon over the Great Mosque in Mecca. So what is the significance with the moon, right? And that's Baal Moloch, of course. Yes, we've discussed that at length. Notice the sun and moon symbols on the doors of the Kaaba. Sun and moon symbols. Sun and moon, right? All right, here's the old door before they put in this gold-plated door. This is the old wooden door. So you can see sun and moon. Now let me see. Pre-Islamic era. Okay, so pre-Islamic era Arabs. So Yahweh. Let's have a look at the name Yahweh. Pre-Islamic era Arab Christians used the theophoric name Abdallah, servant of Allah, technically actually slave. Abid is the name for a black man in Arabic, and the name for a slave, right? Even your Quran cover has the sun. So yes, Very interesting. How come Muslims can't see this? I have no idea. It's so obvious. It's in your face. We're going to look at more of it today. So pre-Islamic era, Arab Christians also used the name Abdullah, servant of Allah, as a baptismal name, right? Abdullah was also Muhammad's father's name, but of course, these Christians were using in the term of servant of Allah, but in the Islamic sense, it means the slave of Allah, because Allah has slaves, right? Allah is not our father. But Abdullah was Muhammad's father's name, and we've discussed at length that the Allah of the Kaaba at the time of Muhammad's birth was Hubal, he who is Baal, right? Now, yeah, true, it's easier to fool someone than to show them that they have been fooled, right? Now, some have said that the Arabic Abdullah and Ubaidullah, I had a friend called Ubaidullah, are translations of the Hebrew Obadiah. One of Muhammad's uncles was named Ubaidullah. Obadiah, however, means servant of Yahweh, right? Whereas Abdullah means slave of Allah. Now, let's have a look. Arab Christians also used the name Abdullah, okay? When Christians used the title Allah, they had the God of the Bible in mind, however. By contrast, Abdullah was also the name of Muhammad's pagan father. So Muhammad's father was pagan. He, however, was named after Allah, the Makkan moon god, just as Makkans with the names Hilal, the crescent. Right, let me go back. This is the Hilal. Here, see? This is the Hilal. Hilal is also the name of a moon god in Arabia. Right, so one of the pre-Islamic pagan moon gods, one of the most important moon gods, was Hilal. Hilal is one of the phases of the moon. Right? So, oops. Now, so he was named after Allah, the Makkan moon god, just as the Makkans with the names Hilal, the crescent, and Qamar, the full moon. Qamar is the whole moon, not the full moon, but the moon. Were named in honor of the Makkan moon god. They're different phases of the moon. That the pre-Islamic Arab Christians called Yahweh by the title Allah, the God, and the Arabs called their high moon god Allah, the God, does not show commonality between Christianity and Islam and the deity of each. The one is a title, this is my God, who is called Yahweh, and they're saying this is Allah. Allah was the moon god, right? And they're using the title now as a name. So, Lloyd, what do you say to naysayers to the Allah equals Hubal theory? Robert Morey took a lot of flack for it. Naysayers to the... Look, there's plenty of evidence. You can't... there's so much evidence, I don't think it can just be casually dismissed. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't apologists for Islam who are paid or one way or another influenced or are ignorant enough to say, look, we can just dismiss this casually. So I got curious about this because I saw the whole idea of Allah being a moon god, okay? And then there were people that were saying, no, it's not. So I was looking, okay, now, which way do I fall? Well, I don't know because I don't know enough. So I started researching the history of Arabia. And if you go back, it was moon god central. I mean, Muhammad was born into moon god central. The Islamic sources are so replete with sources related to the moon god. And I mean, the Yemenis were bathed in the Babylonian religion, and they controlled that whole area. And so that influence, I mean, the moon god was just, I mean, the whole Arabia was lathered in moon god worship. And then, of course, you talk of Arabia, Iraq at the time, right? Mesopotamia, as they called it. It's very, according to one source at least, the next to Yemen, right, which was this moon god central, which got the same religion as, which basically imported and copied the same religion as the Babylonians. The Babylonian area was actually settled originally. So remember, they're called Ur of the Chaldees, right? You have the story about Ur of the Chaldees. Now, next to Yemen is Oman, and it said that the Omanis were the original Chaldees. They simply took their boats, went north, and they settled Iraq, and they became the Chaldeans. The original Chaldeans were Yemeni, who are right next to, who are Omani, who are right next to Yemen. So the question is, are the original settlers and the original moon worshippers the Yemenis and Omanis, or did it go south, or did it go north? So the Sea People were from, the Sea People invaded, okay, hold on, let me bring up some map, since you're asking. The Sea People were a fair-skinned people, so let me do this again. Okay, the Sea People came from Spain and from Greece. So the Sea People came from the Iberian Peninsula, right? The Sea People came from this region, and the Sea People came from Greece, from this region. And they can be traced genetically to Greece, Italy, and Spain. I did a series on that. Have a look at my stuff on the Philistines. Yeah, the Philistines. Have a look at that, my video. And they invaded here. So that is, it's not the Omanis. My voice keeps cutting. YouTube does this. Understand, this is beyond my control. YouTube always picks a few people and gives them bad audio. That's beyond my control. Yeah, because I'm watching my stats here and everything is looking good. My CPU usage is 1.7%. I'm running at 60 frames a second. My render times are great. Everything is looking good. So Sam Shamoon references the Allah Hubal connection. One of his online pages gives a reference. Okay, yeah, I've gone into far more detail, I believe, than that. The grammatical gender of the moon shows that Allah was a moon god. The grammatical gender of the word moon was one reason the moon was considered the high god in Arabian patriarchal society. Not matriarchal, but patriarchal. In Arabic, the usual words involving the moon are masculine, qamar, moon, badr, full moon, the battle of Badr, battle of the full moon. And hilal, the crescent moon, the word for sun in Semitic languages is feminine. Understand now. In Semitic languages, the sun is feminine, the moon is masculine. Right? Now, the Encyclopaedia Britannica states that the word sun is feminine in Arabic, and Yusuf Ali, translator of the Quran, says, the moon was a male divinity in ancient India, and there is a connection to India. There is definitely an Islamic connection to India. It was also a male divinity in ancient Semitic religion, and the Arabic word for the moon, qamar, is of the masculine gender. On the other hand, the Arabic word for the sun, shams, is of obviously feminine gender. So understand, this is very different to the Western concept. The pagan Arabs evidently looked upon the sun as a goddess and the moon as a god. So Quran translations often do not follow the Arabic conventions concerning the gender of the sun and the moon. So Western scholars have often gotten this backwards. Scholars generally follow the ancient mythology of their locale, of where they live, right? So English translations use masculine pronouns for the sun and feminine pronouns for the moon, or neuter for both the sun and the moon, except that within the culture of the time in Arabia, there were feminine sun, masculine moon. Tamuria, you said that in some cultures the moon god was female. Theory is it's the same entity who changes gender. Yes. I actually do reference that somewhere in my notes. As we go through this, I actually do mention that the very same entity can change gender and change name, but it's the same entity that crosses geographies, and it can swap genders, and then maybe a few generations later it swaps again. So yeah, it's transgender. Let's look at some coins with crescent and star. So a question came up about Muslims always saying, well, it's the Turks who, started using the crescent and the star. It was the Turks. They were the first to use it. They were the ones who did it. And sure, the Turks, but that's the 1800s. That's the late 1800s, I believe. Let's have a look at how early the whole crescent and star idea goes back, and it's all linked to this very same culture with the same religious ideas. So Hadrian in AD 117 to 138, okay, this is a denarius, and it's got the laureate head, right? And so star within crescent moon, and another with 7 stars within and above the crescent moon. So this is a denarius, a coin, okay? So from the time of Hadrian, star and crescent, right? This is pagan. Here we've got 7 stars, 7 heavens, right? And you've got the moon. Now, here you've got the Turkish Shahi, the first quarter of the 8th century. Now they say, hold on, the Turks invented this in the 1800s, the middle to late 1800s. The Turks came up with the crescent and star. So it's really just been the last, 150 years that Islam has had the crescent and star. Muslims love to tell you that story. The Turks did it very late. Notice the Turks were using the crescent and the star right there in the first quarter of the 8th century, right? That we know of, the first quarter of the 8th century. Now notice, here is a crescent moon, here's a crescent moon, here is a crescent moon with the star, crescent and star. This goes way back. This goes even back to Yemen, to 1,000 years BC. This goes back to 1,400 years before Islam was created, from the very same group that the Sabaeans, that Islam copied its religion. Right? Once again, yes, history trumps Islam. Okay, so Your Highness says, now we know where gender dysphoria is plaguing our current society comes from. Yeah. No. Now, this is a coin from Haran. Now, we mentioned Haran previously. This is in Turkey. Notice, this is a coin from Haran. All right? This is a Parthian coin, 1st century. This religion was spread all around, so this is the 1st century. This is a Persian Sasanian Empire, 3rd to 7th century. Right? Here's the crescent. There's the star. Crescent, star. Crescent, star. Crescent, star. Notice, it's got a whole bunch of these here. Crescent and star. Crescent and star. This goes way back to that region, to those shade religions, and it's not just the Turks in the 19th century who came up with this idea. The Turks had it long before, and it's been around that area for long before. It's been in Arabia for ages. Notice also the Templars. Remember, the Templars went a little wild. The Templars eventually ended up, well, the Templars lost their way. Let's put it that way. They embraced Sufism, it would seem, and they became Muslims. So, moon and star, Egypt and Turkey. Let's have a look. Ancient Egyptian moon goddess. So this is the ancient Egyptian moon goddess. Here is our crescent. Here is another crescent with our star. Now, it possibly could also be a sun symbol, but yeah, you have crescent and star. Could be crescent and sun, but either way, right? So moon and sun or moon and star. Here you got the crescent again, right? And of course, let's look at an Anatolian mural from Karum in Turkey. Crescent, star. Crescent, star. Turkey's had this from long before the 19th century. Abbasids had seals with moons and star. Exactly. Right. So, yeah, Carol says, well, Adal Cole says, Nana Shwen and Inanna. Yeah. And let's go to Yemen. Let's look at the Himyarites and Saba. Okay. Katie, native sister. Wow. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful. Thank you. I appreciate the support. And, right, let's have a look here. These are coins from Yemen. This is a Venus-Moon couplet. So this is Venus. So this is the planet Venus, right? So now you've got another representation of how this works. And so you've got a Venus-Moon couplet here. You can see there, right? And notice the coin tells us this is Al-Makkah, the moon god. And we've spoken at length about Yemen, the significance of Yemen, that the Yemeni religion was the same religion as the Babylonians, which is the same religion as the Muslims have. Al-Makkah, the moon god. So this is this coin. And then this is the Bakka, the Bakka. Now, remember in Islam, in the Quran, they speak of Bakka. Bakka is Mecca, right? They try to tell us that Bakka is Mecca. But this word Bakka, this is the Bakka symbol, meaning glory be to Al-Makkah, Allah. So we know that Baal was the Allah of the Kaaba, but now we've got Al-Makkah was also the Allah. And Makkah, as we know, Al-Makkah, the Makkah, Al-Makkah is, right, this major moon god, and Makkah is the holy city in Islam. And the Kaaba was dedicated to Makkah, and Makkah was Baal. So, this just goes in circles, right? Abraham was a pagan before Yahweh came to him, correct, and he was, according to the Jewish scholars, Abraham was a Sabaean, the same group as from Yemen, except remember, they moved north, and they took their religion north, and they settled north, up as far as northern Syria on the border with Turkey, which we've discussed, right? Yes, and Maldoni says the false Islamic Abraham worshipped the sun, moon, and stars, correct, right? Now, notice here you got Attar Venus, right? This symbol here is for Attar Venus, this symbol here. So now you've got Venus, right? Attar, we've spoken at length of that. And the monogram of unknown meaning, we don't know what this means. And then the Awam temple is dedicated to Al-Makkah. So now we've got this. And let's continue here. Notice here you've got, actually no. Now the Bak symbol meant glory be to Allah. This symbol here, the Bakka, this here, Bakka. Now the Bakka symbol meant glory be to Allah. Interesting. So Al-Makkah was probably known as Allah already in pre-Islamic times. We know that the word Allah was around pre-Islamic times. Muhammad's father was called Abdallah, right? We know that the Allah of the Kaaba was Hubal, but now we know that Allah was also Al-Makkah, and we know that Al-Makkah was the major god of the tribe, was the major god of the time. So, just tie these knots together and see what you get, right? Tie these threads together. And Murphy says, when Muslims see these ancient coins, my experience is they think it's confirmation that Islam has always existed instead of realizing they're another arm of the same core pagan religion. That's a very, very good point, Anne Murphy. Well, remember, doubt is illegal. and they're not allowed to think badly of Islam under any circumstances. We ever heard of this Baal before from the Old Testament? Yes. Yeah, correct. Now, notice these coins. Star and moon, okay? Notice here, the same coins. Notice these 3 pillars. How many pillars are inside the Kaaba today? Take a wild guess. 3. 3 pillars here, right? You've got the crescent moon, same as the bull, right? The bull of Baal, right? And here you've got this. And you've got the crescent and star, crescent and star, crescent and star. Now, they mention here of which features a more independent and unique Sabaean identity. These are Sabaean coins. Sabaean coins, again, the early religion that gave Islam its start. These earlier imitations of Athenian coinage seem to showcase an intense interest in the Mediterranean world. So they borrowed from that part of the world, right? And its powerful economy opportunities. But as the Sabaean and Himyarites grew through territorial conquest and became more directly involved with the Roman and Eastern trades to India and beyond, they established their own iconographic traditions. All right, let's continue. Now let's have a look here, right? We'll see these symbols, and let's see if I can remember what this means. I know there was something. Shin. Then this is the name Shin. I believe this is the name of the god here. Shin. The name of the god, Shin, if I recall. And yeah, I can't remember what else was supposed to be relevant here. So, okay, coins to Al-Makkah. So these are symbols often found on South Arabian coins. Okay, no, these here. So these are symbols that are often found on South Arabian coins, all of which just happen to be found on this later Sabaean bucranium coin. A bucranium is this, the skull of a bull, right? That's a bucranium. From the early 2nd to the mid-3rd century. So this symbol goes back way before, but lies only in one shin. Yeah. Al-Makkah symbol is found on many Sabaean coins. Simpson wrote that the bull with the lyre-shaped horns with a plume in between is probably an animal manifestation of Al-Makkah. So now, you're talking about Al-Makkah, the god Shin. The Baka symbol is of special interest. It was placed on the obverse of some Sabaean coins right next to the bent lander symbol of Al-Makkah. And the Bak symbol meant glory to be Allah. Al-Makkah was probably known as Allah in pre-Islamic times. So the scholar called Egerton Sykes said that Allah seems to have been preceded by Al-Makkah, the moon god. So this is a very well-known scholar of the past. Allah seems to have been preceded by Il-Makkah or Al-Makkah, the moon god. So the earlier manifestation of Allah was the moon god. Notice Al-Makkah has 1,781 total occurrences in the CSAI. So this is a database. It's called the Corpus for South Arabian Inscriptions. It's an archaeological database. There's loads of references to Al-Makkah. And it occurs at times as the name of a deity, and at other times it occurs as a sanctuary or altar. Like a place, like, I don't know, like a Kaaba. Do you understand? Sometimes Makkah refers to the deity, and sometimes Makkah refers to the place, the temple, the Kaaba where Makkah is worshipped. So understand, it's very easy for Makkah to become Mecca. It's really very, very simple. Right? So here, back to this coin. See? This monogram here. Dedicated, see, the Awam temple was dedicated to Al-Makkah, the god, and then of course you had places called Al-Makkah. So now let's have a look at the symbol of the moon god, Shin. First of all, this is the Mother Mary here, right? She is stepping on the crescent moon. Oh wow, Islam Mentira Verdad, thank you. It says, thank you for sharing this information with us. I believe this is very good and put it together, demand your time. So thank you. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful. Appreciate it. Al-Makkah. Got it. Yeah, look, I'm so... Stefania Luna, welcome. Hello, good evening. All right. So, right, here we go. So you've got now the Mother Mary shining light from her hands, and she's stepping. The symbolism goes way back in Christian beliefs, well, Christian history. So she's stepping on the moon god. See, this is where she is stepping on the moon god. This is it has meaning, right? It's got a symbolic meaning. Now here, this is a very, very old symbol. I believe this is an old Babylonian symbol. And here you've got the crescent again. Notice here you've got the very same, okay, the pole and the crescent. This is a mosque. This is Babylonian, right? This idea, notice this whole idea, this whole symbolism goes back to Babylon. Now, notice here, you've got this Turkish drawing. The guy's holding here. Here he's actually holding a crescent, right? And he's stepping on the cross. See, he's holding a crescent and stepping on the cross. So there's been this rivalry going back into the Old Testament time, right? Is that an Asherah pole? Is that the same thing? I believe so. I believe that's an Asherah pole. Yeah, I could well be, but don't quote me on that. I wouldn't be very certain. I can't recall. Okay, let's look at the two-horned one. Now, Allah's pagan moon association is plainly seen on every mosque, yet Muslims tell us not to believe our lying eyes, right? Now, this Al-Makkah, one of the animals associated with Al-Makkah was this ibex, right, with the curve, or the ram, right, the curved horns. Notice here, the symbolism goes back as well into paganism, and here's the same symbolism here, right, the curved ram's horns, or the ibex's horns. Now, we are to believe that Allah is the God of the Bible and not a pagan moon god, although Allah has the very same title as pagan gods. So he's got the same name as pagan gods, but we are to believe he's the God of the Christian Bible, right, the Judeo-Christian Bible. Yes, so Your Highness says that would make sense why God said cut down those poles and burn them. Correct. I will cover that. I have covered that with Abraham in the past. I went through that exact passage. So, Alexander the Great, bisexual pagan and good Muslim. Correct. Right, he called himself a god because that's kind of what you did to maintain power and authority. And of course he was a good Muslim until they realized his history, because Islamic scholars were terrible at history, and then they had to change that story. Yahweh is his name, not Allah, correct. Old inscriptions of the name Yahweh go back 1500, 1600 BC. At least the oldest inscription goes back almost 1700 years, I think, or at least 1500 years with Yahweh. So the name was known more than 2000 years before Islam started. The name Yahweh was well known in that region. Dul Qarnayn, two horns. So, right. Now, what we have is, in the Quran, the Quran is the holy book of the KKK, by the way, for those who don't know. The holy book of the KKK is the Quran. King Dul Qarnayn is a good Muslim. Dul Qarnayn means two-horned one, or possessor of two horns, referring to the crescent on his royal crown. The crescent crown indicates allegiance to the moon god. Interesting. That crown, together with the fact that Dul Qarnayn watched the sun set in a mud puddle, shows that the Dul Qarnayn parable in the Quran besides has a pro-lunar and anti-solar message. So there's a connection here. He watches the sun set in a puddle. So the moon becomes supreme. The sun is a lesser deity. So now you've got this symbolism of pro-moon, and that the sun is of a weaker strain, right? The weaker deity. I found her and her people prostrating to the sun instead of Allah. This is regarding the Queen of Sheba, who were moon worshippers. Right? So this is the story of Dul Qarnayn. He found the Queen of Sheba prostrating to the sun. So the sun is not Allah. Understand? So now we've got confirmation again that Allah is not the sun. Allah is the moon. And the Queen of Sheba were worshipping the wrong god. So the muddy puddle, yeah, Islamic science. Now again, Egerton Sykes wrote that Allah seems to have been preceded by Al-Makkah, the Sabaean moon god. Right? So Al-Makkah was the Sabaean moon god. So now again, we got further confirmation that Allah preceded by Al-Makkah, the Sabaean moon god, who ultimately was modeled on the Mesopotamian moon god Sin, or Shin. And the Quran's Queen of Sheba account shows that the Quran is a pro-lunar, anti-solar scripture. So Dul Qarnayn was a worshipper of Allah. Remember also the use of the word Nur rather than the word Diyar for sun. So Dul Qarnayn was a worshipper of Allah who received his favor as a powerful ruler. Dul Qarnayn may have been Cyrus the Great, a monotheist. No, the answer to that is no, absolutely no. The sun is Shams, correct, Adele. Let me see if I haven't missed any comments, but those pagan gods. Guys, you know, I keep forgetting to this, but if you like this content, please do like, do share, do subscribe, do like. And if I can ask you, if you like this, leave a comment. Let's know what you think. Obviously, it helps to boost the video. It helps to boost the channel. Things are growing really well, so thank you for that. I do need to obviously grow this, get this message out. So please, after the show, do leave at least one comment. I'd appreciate that. I'd be very grateful. So Dul Qarnayn was not Cyrus the Great. Okay? No. The dissimilarities are too great here. Farish, I've done all that quite often. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Farish, welcome. Now, the Yemen Hadith. So now let's have a little talk about Yemen. Let me see how far I'm going to go. So hopefully I'm making sense here and all of this is relevant. And, oh yes, I know where I have to go. Okay, so we'll go up to the Kaaba. Okay, now, the Yemen Hadith. Yemen features heavily within Islam, but they kind of downplay it. but it's very, very important. And I think there's a reason why they downplay it. They don't want us looking south, right? So the Yemen Hadith, number 1, and we're looking at Iman and Hikmah, right? Faith and knowledge, right? Or wisdom, right? Hokmah, this comes from a Jewish word anyway. It's stolen from another Jewish word, a Hebrew word. Yeah. Another place we're advised to seek knowledge from was Yemen. Now, this is from the website ghaib.com. This is ghaib is like the secret knowledge. Ghaib is like the spiritual knowledge. So think of it as the gnosis or the higher knowledge, the esoteric knowledge. Ghaib, okay? It's the secret knowledge of Islam, right? So this is all to do with the whole Gnostic nonsense. But this is an Islamic website. Another place we're advised to seek knowledge from was Yemen. The Prophet said, and I don't want to call Mo a liar, right? The people of Yemen have come to you, most sensitive in their souls, the softest of hearts. Belief, which is Iman, Aqidah, or theology, is from Yemen. Wait, Muhammad just said that our belief, our creed, our theology is from Yemen. Hold on. What did we get from Yemen? We got... Yemen gave us Al-Makkah. And Yemen was following the Mesopotamian moon religion. They were worshipping Shin. They just called him Al-Makkah. And Shin was their Allah, right? Al-Makkah was their Allah. So hold on. Okay, Muhammad is saying that our theology is from Yemen. Now that's very interesting. This is the Hadith. So Islamic religion is from Yemen. And my very first slide, or my second slide, I said, look, this Islamic scholar is telling us that Islamic religion today is nearly identical to the Sabaean Yemeni moon religion then, right? From 2,000 years ago, right? So pride and arrogance are found among the camel owners, tranquility and dignity among the sheep owners. That's Bukhari and Muslim. So hold on. So this is Bukhari. This is Da'if Bukhari and Da'if Muslim are telling us. So the Prophet taught that we should seek out Iman and Aqidah. We need to seek out faith and theology from the people of Yemen and the Asharis specifically. Ashari, Athar, the star god. Excellent. There we go. And you mentioned earlier, the term, the Ashara pole. Well, where do you think Ashari comes from? Ponder that for a moment. The Asharis, the Ashari creed, right? The Aqidah. So ponder that. Simple Jack, thank you for the very nice comment in the comment section earlier today. Thank you. Funny Quran name dropping that so-and-so saw the sunset in the puddle. Yeah, huge faux pas. There's loads of them. Now, narrated Abu Huraira that the Messenger of Allah said, and I don't want to call Mo a liar, right? The people of Yemen have come to you. They are weaker in heart and soft in understanding. Faith is Yemeni. So the Islamic faith is Yemeni and wisdom is Yemeni. So the hikmah, right? Muslims are big on the hikmah. So the faith, the Iman of Islam is Yemeni. Hold on, they got it from Yemen, and the wisdom is Yemeni. So, this is Tirmidhi, okay? And this is Dar es Salaam, volume 6, book 46, hadith 3935. All right? It is reported on the authority of Abu Huraira. Any spelling mistakes or what was on the page, I just pasted it in here. Reported on the authority of Abu Huraira that the Messenger of Allah, may police be upon him, observed. They came the people of Yemen, blah, blah. The belief is that of the Yemenites. The wisdom, the hikmah, the sagacity is that of the Yemenites. And the summit of unbelief is towards the east. Fantastic. But again, Islamic belief is that of the Yemenites. So our belief is that of the Yemenites. The Yemenites were pagan moon worshippers worshipping the gods of Babylon. Understand that? This is obvious in your face. Muhammad said it. Okay? Muslims always say that's Da'if. Sorry, man. Yeah, in case you didn't miss that. Yeah, I call it Da'if Bukhari and Da'if Muslim because whenever we quote it, they tell us that's Da'if, brother. Narrated Abu Huraira, the Prophet said, the people of Yemen have come to you and they are more soft-hearted and gentle-hearted people. The capacity for understanding religion is Yemenite and the wisdom, the hikmah, is Yemenite. So Muhammad said this. I don't want to argue. That's Bukhari. That is Da'if Bukhari. Okay, volume 5, book 59, hadith 673. It's 100% true because it's Da'if. Okay, well, Sahih, but you know what I mean. All right. Yeah, I'm using sarcasm. Excuse me. I'm not sure if sarcasm is academic, but, I'm using academic sarcasm. Right. It is narrated on the authority of Abu Huraira, the Messenger of Allah observed, they have come the people of Yemen. The belief is that of the Yemenites. The understanding of the faith is that of the Yemenites. Sahih Muslim. Okay. Da'if Muslim, Book 1, Hadith 84. So understand, Muhammad is telling us here that their belief is Yemenite and the Yemenis were pagan moon worshippers. I think that's case closed to me anyway, but Muslims apparently just don't listen. CQ says, Iman is the word borrowed from Aramaic vors. You know, vors is the word that Aramaic borrowed from Afrikaans for sausage, because you got the W-O, unless you mean Aramaic word, because if you got Aramaic W-O-R-S, that's vors, and that's sausage. And Daduza is going to barbecue that sausage this weekend. Reg, Highness? Ons gaan nou braai. Ons gaan nou braai. Ons gaan hy wors nou braai. Yes, so, okay. Amen. Yes, amen, amen. Yeah, actually, you know, fantastic. Amen, amen. Emuna. Fantastic. Also in Hebrew means faith. Thank you very much for that, Siku. That's a really enlightening piece of information. Fantastic. That is very interesting. Iman comes from... So just see his comment here. Iman is the word borrowed from Aramaic. Amen, amen, amen. Fantastic. Emuna is also in Hebrew, means faith. Okay, brilliant stuff. Thank you for that. That's very, very useful. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to drop that, if I may steal that. And I need to go to my browser and look that up and add that to my notes. That's great news. Thank you. Okay, let's continue. Sahih Bukhari, Hadith 5672. Book 5, Hadith 672. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, belief is Yemenite, while afflictions appear from the east, from where the side of the head of Satan will appear, but the belief is Yemenite. So understand, over and over, we have multiple confirmations that Islam, its belief, its theology is Yemenite. Okay? The Yemen Hadith number 2. The moon gods of the South Arabian kingdoms were, according to the traditional view, Shin of the Hadramaut, Wad of Mayan, we spoke about Wad at length a couple of shows ago, of the Kataban, and Al-Makkah of Saba and Himyar. Al-Makkah was the best known of them. Right, Wad was also in East Africa, right? So you're looking at Ethiopia and the countries just above Ethiopia as well. Okay, so Muslim says Da'if Hadith, then says Da'if Tafsir. When they say Da'if Quran, I don't know all the time actually. I've been told the Quran is Da'if when I've mentioned it. Okay, so I just call the Quran a weak Hadith when they, you know. So anyway, so let's continue here. Belief is Yemenite and wisdom is Yemenite. So that's in Bukhari. So it's Sahih, right? So we asked Anas bin Malik, which garment did Allah's messenger, may police be upon him, love or like to wear? And Muhammad said, the mantle of Yemen. So Muhammad had a love for Yemen. There was something about Yemen. So he loved to wear the clothes of Yemen. What was the symbolism here? Why is this important? Why is this had to be, you know, if the faith is Yemenite, understand, this is that why Saudi is trying to destroy Yemen, to destroy evidence? Yes, I would strongly say so, because later on at the end I will discuss a particular museum that had collected 12,000 pieces, historical pieces on the early history of the Sabaeans and these the Katabans, Al-Makkah and all of this stuff, Saba and Himyar. And for no reason whatsoever, this was in an area that wasn't plagued by war. The Saudis sent 2 warplanes and they bombed the place. They dropped 2 bombs on the place. Okay, they bombed it in 2012 for absolutely. They made direct hits on a museum, and they destroyed everything. All the museum pieces there were obliterated. Yes, they are destroying evidence, just like they're concreting over Mecca. They can't have this information found. So yes. Okay, now notice it says here, I have not seen the Prophet touching the Kaaba, right? The stones of the Kaaba, except for the 2 Yemenite corners, i.e. the ones facing Yemen. Why would he touch the Yemenite corners, right? Now, the Yemenite corners, of course, we mentioned earlier the Yemenite god modeled on Jesus that would forgive sins. That's why the Kaaba forgives sins, right? Gives you salvation. It was narrated from Abdullah bin Ubayd bin Umar that a man said, oh, blah, 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 why do I only see you touching these 2 corners? And he said, I heard the messenger of Allah say, touching these corners erases sins. Fantastic. So somehow these Yemeni corners are very, very important, but they're downplayed. Fatwa 49. Elsewhere, Ibn Taymiyyah argues that it is only permissible to touch and kiss the 2 Yemeni stones, i.e. the black stone in the eastern corner of the Kaaba and that in the southwest corner of the Kaaba. That's fascinating. So Ibn Taymiyyah tells us they should touch the Yemeni corners and kiss the Yemeni corners for forgiveness of sins. So Why is the Yemeni corner important? Right? They're erasing history because history destroys Islam, correct? Okay, now, another section I'll go for a little while. So the Messenger of Allah said, the gates of paradise are flung open on Monday and Thursday. Why not Wednesday? Why not Friday? What about Sunday? Right, Friday's the holy day. Why Monday? What's special about Monday? Well, we all know that culturally. Now, earlier I mentioned how they say that their coins, they borrowed the idea of the coins from Greece and Rome, right? They did trade with those countries, right? With those states. They also borrowed the idea, and this is a common across that developed world at the time, that Monday was the day of the moon god. Monday was the day of the moon. Now, notice this is from an Islamic website. This is Tirmidhi, okay? The gates of paradise are flung open on Monday. Now, this is an Islamic website. Monday is given such incredible importance in the heavens. It is only right that we give it equal importance here on earth. Monday, the day of the moon, is given incredible importance in the heavens. Therefore, we must give it equal importance here on earth. The day of the moon, we could fast on Mondays, as is sunnah. What? It is sunnah to fast on Monday, the day of the moon. We must increase our voluntary prayers on the day of the moon. We must perform a simple charity on the day of the moon, like smiling, or planting a tree. Okay, planting a tree. Why planting a tree? Don't forget that when you read again, when Abraham is instructed to no longer be a pagan, to follow Yahweh, he must destroy idols. He must not worship upright stone idols or trees. Remember that. Within the Bible, Abraham is instructed not to worship trees. I'm just wondering why they're planting trees. Or simply take the time to reflect on our love for Allah and the ways He has blessed us. Okay? Yeah, so Islam and Tira Verdad says it could be open all Friday because that's their sacred day, but it's not. It's open on Monday. All right? Abu Qatada Ansari reported that Allah's messenger, his messenger, was asked about fasting on Monday, whereupon Muhammad said, "It is the day when I was born and revelation was sent down to me." Hold on, Muhammad was born on a Monday, the day of the moon. Revelation was always sent down to Muhammad on a Monday, the day of the moon. I need to check some references, so give me a moment. Okay, let me just go back one slide here. Okay, no, that's fine. Okay, sometimes the ecclesiastical names are used. Okay, I'll skip this. This is, yeah, so Monday is what we call the day of the moon. So that's, right? In Islam, Muslims are encouraged to fast on Mondays, and Muhammad fasted too. The Druze Xerox religion, yeah. Monday, the 21st of Ramadan, just before sunrise, okay, that's when Muhammad was 40 years, 6 months, and 12 days of age. Okay, i.e. 39 solar years, 3 months, and 22 days. But Muhammad, Monday, blah, blah, blah. So Muhammad, I don't know what this is important, but this is important to Muslims, that Monday. The black stone was placed in the Kaaba on guess what day? A Monday. Muhammad went to heaven, the Miraj, was on a Monday. Monday, the day of the moon, on the day that is important to the moon god. Now, let's have a look at the 11 virtues of Mondays that Muslims need to know. So let's have a look. The 11 virtues of Mondays that Muslims need to know. So I'm going to go grab this. And I'm going to bring up this website. So let's have a look here. 11 virtues of Mondays. So I don't know if Monday is important, the day of the moon. Let's find out if this is important in Islam. The 11 virtues of Mondays, and this is from muslimhands.org.uk, right? If Muslims are going to disagree, they're going to have to start calling takfir on these Muslims any second, and they're not going to do that. Okay? Now, let's have a look. Many of us have been brought up not liking Mondays, blah, blah, blah. Okay? But notice, in this article, we will discuss the divine connections with Monday, including momentous occasions in the life of the Prophet, which took place on Mondays. Mondays are culturally in Islam, culturally in pagan countries, it is the day of the moon. Let's have a look. Allah created trees on a Monday. Back to trees, back to the thing Abraham should not worship. Okay, no wonder people hate Mondays, Faris says. I wonder if he split the moon on a Monday. That's a good question. The following hadith gives us an account of the order of Allah's creation on various days of the week, but Allah created trees on a Monday. Okay, and notice, trees are the longest living creatures on earth, blah, blah. The gates of paradise are flung open on a Monday. Fantastic. And we must give Monday equal importance. Muslims are forgiven on Monday. We now discover that Monday and Thursdays are incredible opportunities to have our sins forgiven. Allah forgives every Muslim except two who have abandoned one another. Okay, blah, blah. Okay, deeds are presented to Allah on Monday. Allah's busy on the other days. Okay, just make an appointment, right? Monotheistic quaternity that worships Muhammad, a chunk of rock, a building that houses the rock idol and Allah. Yes, of course. Deeds are presented to Allah on a Monday. Okay, so our deeds are presented and accounted for Allah on Monday and Thursday. Okay, fantastic. The Prophet was born on a Monday. So the dominant opinion is that the Prophet was born on 12th of Rabi al-Awwal in the year of the elephant. The following hadith also proves that it was Monday. Oh, we have to make it Monday. On the authority of Abu Qatada al-Ansari, the messenger of Allah was asked about fasting on Mondays, and he said, I was born on it, and revelation was sent down on Mondays to me. Yeah, Muhammad burnt trees. Islam doesn't make any sense anyway. The Prophet, raised the black stone to the Kaaba on Monday. So this famous historic event took place on a Monday. Okay, so Muhammad was born on a Monday and he raised the black stone on a Monday. Muhammad received revelation on a Monday. So revelation was sent down to me on Mondays. Okay, the night of revelation, known as the night of power, the Laylatul Qadr. Okay, so let me see. Oh, the Quran was revealed on a Monday. Oh boy. So the Quran was revealed on a Monday, the day of the moon god. Fantastic. So the ascension, the Miraj, took place on a Monday, right? The Hijrah began on a Monday. Let me see. Erkan, welcome. Hey, good stuff. Good to see you. The Prophet arrived in Medina on a Monday. Oh, good grief. And Muhammad died on a Monday. So it's probably just a coincidence. Okay? And he says Islam is everything but monotheist. Yeah. So understand, praise be to Allah, praise be to the moon god. Everything to do with Monday. I mean, this is crazy. Understand the amount of overlap here with Mondays, the day of the moon god. All right? So remember, Wednesday, it's like Woden's day, the god Woden, right? Saturday, Saturn's day, right? The god Saturn. All right? Let's have a look at Al-Abyad, the lord of Monday and the lord of the moon. So Mura al-Abyad, he was the Jinn king of Monday and of the moon. Oh my gosh, so the Jinn king of Monday, Mura al-Abyad Abu al-Harith, he was known as the White One, the father of the light. The god of Monday was known as the White One, the father of the light. Who else do we know? Hold on. Who's known as the Light One, the angel of light, the White One? Come on, there must be something. You guys must have heard of something. Okay, so now we're talking about Satan, the light bringer, Lucifer, right? The Lord of Light. Abd al-Nur, but notice al-Nur, Moonlight, the White King, Malik, Abd al-Malik. Okay, Abd al-Malik, the slave of the Malik, Malik al-Abyad, the King al-Abyad. He's the Lord of Monday. He's the moon, he is Qamar. These are all just sheer coincidences. It's got nothing to do with Islam at this point. The White King, the Malik al-Abyad, is Lord of Monday, the moon. He is the moon, he is Qamar. Qamar is Allah. Qamar is Al-Makkah. Al-Makkah is Allah. Allah is Hubal. Allah is Allah. Good grief. Do you understand? I mean, is this just random coincidence? Everything's a huge coincidence, yeah. It is reported that that Ibn Abbas said, a devil called Al-Abyad came to the Prophet in the form of Jibreel and cast these words, the satanic verses, upon him, and the Prophet recited them. So there you go. The Lord of Monday. Muhammad was obeying the Lord of Monday at least once in his life. Maybe he met him in a cave before that. So, yeah, autotheism and self-worshiping God, yeah. So, yeah, understand, this is just a very odd series of coincidences. The Malik al-Abyad, the Lord of Monday. So, and the moon, Qamar. So, hold on, the Lord of the moon, I thought is Al-Makkah, Allah. So, understand this. Now this throws a spanner in the works. Do we ignore this or do we go, hold on, there's something very weird here. Something's going on. Let's have a look. Al-Makkah. Let's look in the Encyclopaedia of Spirits. The Lord of the Horned Goats. The Lord of the Ibexes. Also known as Il-Makkah, Il-Muk, Ilumku, Allah. Hold on. Remember we saw the horns on Dhul Qarnayn, the pagan? Right? The same symbol. Moon Day. Correct. It's Moon Day. Monday is Moon Day. Allah. Notice the Lord of the Ibexes has multiple names, also known as Allah. The origin is Sabaean, Yemeni. Is that a coincidence? Right? So Lord of Monday and the moon, Understand? Yeah, Damien, yeah. Al-Makka appears to be the preeminent deity of the South Arabian kingdom of Sabah, now Yemen. He was venerated in what is now Eritrea, right, above Ethiopia. He was also the main god of Ethiopia at one time. The Sabaeans called themselves Al-Makka's children. Sabaean inscriptions invoking him date from the 7th century BC. The great temple of Ma'rib in Yemen is sometimes called the eighth wonder of the ancient world. Seems to have been dedicated to him. He has dominion over rain, controls storms, and flooding. He's the guardian of irrigation, which is crucial to a desert nation. His planet is, the moon. Just sheer coincidence. Sacred animals, the bull, the goat, the ibex with the curled horns, the bull with the crescent horns. His emblem, he is represented by a geometric image of a circle rising above a crescent. A circle above a crescent. This is usually interpreted as a sun over the crescent moon. However, it could also be a full moon within cattle horns, similar to the crowns of Hathor and Isis. Well, just probably coincidences, but that's moonotheism. Let's have a look. Here's the symbol, crescent and moon here. Notice the symbol going back. This is a Sabaean symbol. So, okay, we know here that the South Arabian moon god remained supreme in his country, and the sun goddess and their son, the star god, ranked always below him. The best known and the most widespread symbol of this religion of sky gods was the ancient Babylonian symbol of the sun disk in the crescent of the moon, right? And this was the entire circle of heaven, so it's an astrological religion, right? So in Arabia, okay, it seems that Arabia succeeded in withstanding changes, blah, blah. Let's see. Let's have a look at Sunnah.com. Military expeditions led by the Prophet, the Al-Maghazi, and the delegation of Banu Hanifa, and this is Sahih Bukhari, 4376. We used to worship stones, and when we found a better stone than the first one, we would throw the first one away and take the new one. So this is Sahih Bukhari, Book 64, Hadith 401, or Hadith 4376, 4377. So, very, very interesting. Abu Raja al-Utaridi said we used to worship stones, and when we found a better stone, we would throw away the first one and take the latter. So, hey, I don't want to call Bukhari a liar. And now I'll end off here at the Kaaba. The Kaaba, the pagan pillars and the crescent moon. You saw the moon symbol of Al-Makkah, right? You saw the goat, the bucranium, the skull of the bull of Al-Makkah, which had 3 pillars inside it. 3 pillars. Notice how many pillars are inside the Kaaba. 1, 2, 3. I mentioned that earlier. Okay. Well, do we have to sacrifice cattle? It says, why did Muhammad act as a crazy person when he was receiving a revelation? Yeah, that's a good question. That's a very good question. I have theories about that, but I won't discuss that today. But I have my theories about that. Besides epilepsy, there's another one that I've been looking at for some years now. Let's see. Oh, I really enjoyed the song "I Don't Like Mondays" as a kid, Mel. When I was a kid, I remember that song. So let me see. The moon birthed the sun and the star. Yeah. So what possessed? He was doing drugs. Okay. All right. Let's have a look here. This is inside the Kaaba. You have 3 pillars. Pillars. Remember, we're not supposed to. At least with Abraham, no pillars. No, thank you. Right. Now, let's have a look here. This is the Kaaba from above, right? Notice the crescent. Notice the crescent. Notice the Kaaba here. This is the black of the night, and this is the Milky Way. Right? These are the stars. This is symbolic of the stars. But also notice, according to the Sufis, Allah is the divine feminine. So Allah has 2 natures, one of those being feminine. The secret nature of Allah is feminine. Now notice Islamic men and women, right, when they wear their burqas, and the men wear their chadors, there's another name for it. The men wear white, the women wear black. Why is the Kaaba in black? The Kaaba's male should be dressed in white. Why is the Kaaba in a niqab or burqa that's black? Right? So the Kaaba is feminine, yeah, according to the Sufis, as far as I know. The Allah is a female, right? And notice here, you've got the stars. These lights are the stars, right? This is the moon. This is the moon crescent here. This is the moon crescent, the Hatim. And don't forget, Ishmael and his mother are supposed to be buried here. Between this spout, this is a rain spout, okay? So between the middle of this here, this Hatim, this wall, this Hatim, Ishmael and his mother are buried here. this space here, within 3 meters of the Kaaba, between the Hatim and the Kaaba, within 3 meters of the wall of the Kaaba, Ishmael and his mother are buried. That's according to Islamic tradition. Ishmael and his mother are buried here. Right? Ishmael and his mother are buried here. Muslims could prove so much. They could verify this tradition and give Islam a lot of proof if they would just show us the 300 prophets buried next to the Kaaba. Right? Ishmael's buried here. Show us proof. Show us proof. Show us the bones. Just do a radar scan. Show us the bones. They won't do it. They can't do it. It's all lies. 100% lies. Are we sure they're buried? Of course they're not buried there. Do you think they wouldn't have used that as evidence to prove us wrong? Okay? They know there's nothing. They know it's all lies. They absolutely positively know it's all lies. Okay? Andrew Martin, correct. Of course we know it's nonsense. It's complete nonsense. It's trash. Let's have a look. These are the 3 pillars. Remember the 3 pillars? Makkah, the 3 pillars. There you go again, the 3 pillars. Now have a look. This is the Milky Way. Okay? As above, so below, all the Gnostic stuff. This is a time-lapse of people walking around anti-clockwise around the Kaaba. Okay? Here's the Hatim, right? The crescent moon with the lamps, which are the stars. And these are the stars going around the Kaaba. This is exactly symbolic of this idea here, right? Because it is an astronomical or astrological religion. They go round and round, all right? Now notice here. Here you have the moon, right? On the moon you have little stars, right? You've got the children, right? The gods. Then you've got, this is the center of the universe. Don't forget, Allah lives in the Kaaba, right? This, Allah lives in the center of heaven, and this is where Allah lives. This is Allah's home on earth, right? And Yasante, welcome. Most welcome. So guys, yeah, do like, do share, do subscribe. And of course, if you'd like to support the channel, I would be very grateful and appreciate that. Okay, now moving forward. These people, as they move around, they are the stars moving in the Milky Way, right? Moving in the galaxy. And notice the symbol, the disk of the sun here. This is the disk of the sun. So moon, sun, and here you've got Allah's house. This is the house of Allah, don't forget. Okay? You spin me right round, baby. Yeah. Yeah. Okay? Yeah, it's like the 100,000 warriors buried in the hill, Cumorah in Mormonism. Yeah. Have they found the hill? Is it real? Okay. Worshipping creation, not creator. Yeah, as above, so below. Yeah. Wow. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. New donation from in the chat. Thank you. Thank you very kindly. I'm very grateful. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. So notice the prayer when circumambulating the Kaaba. When even with the rain spout, right? Let me just go back. The rain spout is facing the Hatim. This here, this black thing, this is the rain spout. The water goes from the roof and runs down there, right? When even with the rain spout, called the spout of mercy, the Mazab al-Rahmah, at the top of the Kaaba, one says, "O Allah, shade me in your shade on a day when there is no shade but yours, and give me to drink from the cup of your Prophet Muhammad." That sounds very New Testament to me. Give me to drink from the cup of your Prophet Muhammad, after which I will never thirst. Okay, give me a wholesome drink, after which I will never thirst. Does that sound a little New Testament to you guys? Do you hear something a little New Testament-y there? So, was that just me? That's Reliance of the Traveler, page 325. Okay, and yeah, so look, I'll end here. I think I should end here. Let me... That sounds like Jesus. Yes, it does sound like Jesus. Okay, I'll do one more page. So I'll just finish this page, but yeah. But distorted, yeah, exactly. But it's a copy of it, but it's a distortion of it, exactly. Okay, so now you've got a little bit more. So notice you've got this whole idea here of the Kaaba, right? The moon, the house of Allah, right, where Allah lives, right? The sun and the stars are the people moving in circles around it. This is what you have. It's astrological, and we'll do more of that later. Okay, now I'll end off with this one. This is Mo Potter. You may have heard of Mo Potter, the magician. If you haven't, well, okay, remember, see my Google Drive archive for the source text. It's called The Life of Muhammad, the Prophet, by Sayyid Akhtar Risvi. That's a lot of Sayyids there, man. That's a lot of Sayyiding. And Abdullah ibn Masud says, entering the Masjid al-Haram, the Holy Prophet started breaking and demolishing the idols. There were 360 idols fixed in the walls and on the roof of the Kaaba with lead or tin. The house of Slytherin, yes, I would think so. any idol near which the prophet went and towards which he pointed his cane, saying, so as Muhammad would walk to one per day, exactly, right? It could be the same. Look, I know they say 360 idols. That doesn't mean 360 gods. It could mean the same God with 360 different incarnations, right? Christ the Redeemer, Christ the Shepherd, right? The Church of Mercy. It's the same God, same Christian religion, just different names. You're just using a different virtue or idea of God, right? So same God, different name, not a different religion. Anyway, any idol towards which Muhammad walked or to which he pointed his cane. Okay, so here's Muhammad pointing his cane. Right has come and falsehood has vanished. Verily, truly, falsehood is destined to vanish. Quran 1781. And the idol would fall headlong on the ground without anyone touching it. This is one of the miracles of Muhammad. So this is another miracle of Muhammad from the Sirah. Muhammad pointed his cane, said a few words, and the idols in the Kaaba would fall over without anyone touching them. Mo Potter, that is Mo Potter, right? So Andrew says, I think they're day markers originally, and that is possibly true, so okay, so we've got Mo Potter would wave his wand, and this is how Mo destroyed. Now the thing is, Abraham built the Kaaba, right? Don't forget, Abraham built the Kaaba. Now, of course, I did a short recently where Mo tells us that the Kaaba was built 40 years before the temple in Jerusalem, right? So 40 years before Solomon built the temple in Jerusalem, Abraham built the Kaaba. So the temple in Jerusalem was built 957 BC. Actually, hold on, where do I have that slide? Okay, I can't remember it, but I have a short on this. Just look at my shorts. Okay, it's a recent one. The Temple of Jerusalem built approximately 957 BC. 997 BC, 40 years prior, Abraham built the Kaaba, okay, in 997 BC, except Abraham died in 1625 BC, which is 628 years prior to that date. Abraham died. So Abraham was supposed to have lived from roughly 1800 BC to 1625 BC. So he lived, according to the biblical story, 175 years from 1800 BC to 1625. The Kaaba was built in 997, 40 years, according to Muhammad. I don't want to call Muhammad a liar. Muhammad said the Kaaba was built in 997 by Abraham. So Abraham was dead for 600, 700 years at that point. So I don't know how that works, but hey, this is Islamic mathematics. Okay, this is Muhammad's mathematics. So yeah, and then the thing is, when Abraham built it as a house of worship to Allah, when did all these pagan idols come into it? Who put the pagan idols in Allah's house that Abraham built for Allah? Abraham built a house to Allah. When did the pagan idols go in? Who put them in there, right? So Ali Reza Abbasi said, do you think Islam spreading in EU countries can possibly make some of the Islamic... I mean, if they have enough babies, but I think people are going to push back. I get the feeling there'll be a pushback. Don't assume you can't have another civil war. Don't assume you can't have another genocide. Don't assume there's one happening right next door to me. So just down the road, there's a massive war going on. So, okay. Yeah, so... look, we'll see what happens, but I mean, people are learning about this. There's going to be pushback, and it's happening. I suspect it could well turn violent, and it's unfortunate, but I think it has to make you wonder how Arabs came up with algebra. So yeah, so you ponder that. So anywho, notice the exterior of the Kaaba was covered with the habrat cloth from Yemen. Now, previously, so look, I'll stop here on the Kaaba. So I will call it a day here. There's a lot of reading on this one about the Kaaba itself, and then we will start talking about the pillars, the 6 monolithic pillars of Al-Makkah of Baran, which was in the Kaaba, and we'll discuss all of that. So yeah, I'll end up here with this. So guys, that's it from me. Again, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think of all of this, and let your friends know, share it, like it, and so yeah, that's it from me, guys. I think we've gone for nearly an hour and a half. So I think that's good. So I will see you guys on Saturday, right? And I'm probably on Sunday. I'll probably stream on Saturday, and I'll try to, at least with my members. And of course, on Sunday, I'll try and do a stream with Thaddeus to do some other stuff on the Gnostic origins of Islam. So we're doing the pagan origins of Islam. Next, we'll do the Gnostic origins. Okay. So there was a boast of the Quraysh that the Kaaba was built by Abraham. Of course, I mean, they can't prove it. On Saturn's day, Marcus Steiner, yes. There's more legends about the buildings. So yeah, it's all nuts. I mean, let's see. Okay, guys. So thank you. Let's call it a night, and I will see you guys. So thank you all for the time. It was a great conversation. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys soon. All right. Take care, Stefania. See you all. Bye bye. Fijne avond. Jij ook. Goeie avond allemaal. Okay.